Folks, we are back on the program. Coming up this Sunday night, the UFC returns to Brazil, and new main event that was installed just about 6 weeks ago. We've got Frank Mir joining us on the line. He'll be meeting Antonio Bigfoot Silva. Frank, just about a week out from the fight at this point, tell us a bit about just the adjustments of going from, we were expecting to see you on the pay-per-view card in Los Angeles, moving it up a week. Did this take some convincing to change? It's a bit of a drastic change going from the pay-per-view card in LA to headlining now in Brazil.
No, not really. I was called up to UFC, told them that, hey, we have a dropout in the main event, and we really need you to step up and help us out. And obviously, I've always been, there was really wasn't too much of a loss as far as out of my way. It wasn't like I had to take 4 weeks off my training camp. We fought a week earlier and had to travel to Brazil. But I felt that obviously I still see opportunity that it'd be a good thing and take advantage of it.
Frank, Robin Black here. Man, you've spent your whole adult life as a combat sportsman from 20 years old, like a decade and a half. I know that's a broad question, but like, what is different today for you and for the sport than 2001?
Well, I think there's overall acceptance of the legitimacy of sports. I think in 2001 we were still on, kind of a fringe, fan base and just considered kind of, a crazy sport. Even to call it a sport or to say you're an athlete competed in MMA, people would kind of look at you kind of funny, going, no, baseball players, football players, those are athletes. You guys are just...
You guys are savages.
Yeah, savages, great word. So now I think martial artists, you see us, the fighters are doing T-Mobile commercials or advertising for Gatorade or whatever the case may be, and much more widely accepted as a legitimate sport.
It's going to be over a year since we've seen you in action, Frank. Over the past year, I mean, was there a lot of discussion amongst you and your teammates, your family members, if you wanted to pursue this? What has the last year been like, or was this just something that you knew you would be back? It was just a question of when you would be ready?
No, not at all. Actually, I took time off thinking that, at this point, my losses were limited mostly by my physical capabilities. It wasn't from a lack of knowledge or lack of training on knowing what to do in certain positions or certain techniques and tactics. It was the body not really wanting to respond due to injuries and wear and tear. And so I took time off and didn't put any timetable on the agenda as far as just getting back a certain level of health and fitness, and figured if I couldn't just have a normal range of motion and be able to move around and do a simple yoga class with my wife at the gym, if I wasn't capable of those things, then I wasn't going to fight anymore. And so I took time off to heal up the proper way and have a long approach to my off-season training.
And today at 35, are you feeling better than you have over the last 5 years? Are you able to move? Do you flow better? Like, what do you feel like?
Absolutely. And that was the reason why I made a decision to come back. I mean, win and lose, I didn't want to go out there and keep having poor performance. Mm-hmm. Even if I were to go out there and have a poor performance and catch them in submission, it's a poor representation of myself, and I don't want to put my family through all the hardships of my training if that's all I'm capable of doing. What am I proving? What am I even accomplishing? And so I told everybody, if I can't perform at the level that I'm capable of performing at because of injuries, if I can't heal these things up and get back to a certain level of fitness, then it's time for me to move on to the phase of my career. And so I basically told everybody with no goal set in mind that I'm just going to train and get back in shape and train my fitness level back up and my range of motion and my health. And once I feel like I'm able to be healthy again, then I'll decide to take a fight.
Every case seems to be different for fighters, but we're about a year removed now from Nevada basically doing a 180 on allowing TRT. You were one of those fighters. How did your body respond coming off of it? Because, I mean, it seemed that it was the Nevada basically said, we're going to allow this, and then all of a sudden, no, you can't do it anymore. You're off to this cold turkey. And how did you respond and your body?
Well, I mean, at first, obviously, it was very difficult to deal with, and but it actually helped me address what the real problems were. I think when I first went to go address TRT was because of the lack of health and fitness and constant injuries, and so I first was being tested by doctors and like, oh, well, it's the hormone levels. Look, we can show you on paper. No wonder you're feeling the way you're feeling. and you're getting hurt, injured, and these aren't healing, it's because of, your testosterone level and your different hormones and vitamins and other things too that I was able to address without a TUE exemption. And so being off of that, it had to make me really go back and really evaluate and go, okay, well, this isn't going to be able to fix it. What else can I do? And so it really made me reevaluate nutrition and just overall fitness in the gym, range of motion and training, and just trying to train for a certain level of fitness and not just trying to do patchwork to fix an injury.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It sounded like as the years wore down on your body, they tried to put Band-Aids all over it, and each Band-Aid caused a new injury or a new problem.
Correct. Well, I wasn't really addressing the heart of the issue. And certain things that you can do. And even now I have friends that aren't obviously fighters, but they don't have to watch their nutrition the same way I do. They don't have to exactly handle their injuries the same way I do, because they can do. They can go to the Health Rejuvenation Clinic and get a prescription, and legally take testosterone at low levels and legally take growth hormone and different supplements that will help heal their bodies, where I have to look at it from a different approach, going, well, I can't just mask the problem. I have to actually address, well, is there an imbalance in the way I'm walking, or is there an injury here? And, well, obviously if I'm not eating properly, just, that's going to be the problem here. I can't just eat at 80% and think that it's going to solve the problem. What do I have to really do?
So when you got your body back in shape and you got yourself feeling great, and you're taking some time off and you go back in the gym, do you re-fall in love with martial arts in a new way after the break?
Yeah, I did. And it makes it fun to be able to train and be able to do things, especially as an athlete who's trained for so long. It sucks to go out there and, and see a maneuver and not be able to perform. It's disheartening. Now, I actually added a new boxing coach into my program, and Angela Reyes, who's a head coach of the Filipino boxing star, Ana Hulit, the female world champion that's made a transition into MMA. And so going out there and boxing and doing things with him really, really sparked my vigor. And then to be able to go to wrestling practice with a bunch of kids at the high school and go in there and train and not walk off to the edge of the mat because my knee is swollen or because my back is bulging, or, not be able to, some guy goes for an underhook and I say stop because I have an injury to a shoulder and elbow. And I'm like, okay, man, don't crank me, relax, and then walk off the edge of the mat and have to sit there and watch while I'm icing my shoulder, and actually be a part of a full practice and be able to do everything the kids can do and more. At 35, to be able to sit there, I can do everything a 16-year-old's doing again. But I just had to take my time to rebuild it. A 16-year-old kid or an 18-year-old guy or 20s, we can just take time off and kind of jump back in there and, no warm up and just, get back in the flow. Where I was like, well, if I really want to be able to do this again, I have to take time to rebuild up and get to that level. I can't just jump out there and hit a cartwheel, Frank. But, not really going to work, buddy. But then also it's a month of doing handstands against the wall and shoulder rehab, and then doing, ultrasound afterwards and stretching and having a very organized stretching regimen. All of a sudden it's like, hey, do a cartwheel. Okay, I could do just as good as him, but it just took me longer to build back up to it. And now, let's do this. Well, now can you do this? And slowly building up, the bodies can do the same thing. Just as we age and as we add miles, just can't just jump to it without any kind of scientific and real structural approach.
We're chatting here with UFC heavyweight Frank Mir, headlining this Sunday night's card against Antonio Silva. Certainly there has been so much focus over the last 2 weeks, Frank, regarding Anderson Silva, his positive drug test. You have an interesting parallel here in that you were someone that suffered a devastating leg injury. Many people thought you would never fight again. Do you look at the Anderson Silva story any differently than others? Is there any kind of sympathy towards Anderson Silva? What is your reaction to this story and how Anderson came back from this debilitating injury? But this is really tarnishing, I think, a lot of people's memories of Anderson Silva at this point.
Well, I think that all people can make a mistake, and I don't think his whole career should be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Putting an asterisk next to it, I guess. Yeah.
It's like, well, the guy competed for 18 years after the drug test. Came off an injury. And I understand the temptation of wanting to go that route to try to fix yourself. The only thing was that I really had no one come to me and say, hey, if you take this pill, it's going to make your bones heal faster. As far as I knew, that doesn't really occur. If anything, I actually had more of an intention to stay away from things, because from whatever research I've ever done, it actually weakens bones. Any kind of anabolics they drop in your body, and I've seen athletes tear ligaments and tendons and have bone breakage, and it's due to taking substances to make the muscle strong.
Yep.
So he had a bone injury. That's what I had too. And they're trying to take it to make it better. I just don't understand. But I mean, at the same time, if someone would have came to me back in 2004 and said, "Here's a pill that's going to rebuild the bone structure to make sure the bones heal soundly," that would have been a huge temptation. I understand.
Frank,
as far as I know, there's no drugs that build bones.
Yeah. At some point, whether you go in there and you feel great and you smash this man and you fight 6 more times or 8 more times or 2 more times, your career, you'll stop fighting at some point. Heavyweights don't fight forever. How come we haven't seen you sitting on the Fox desk? I mean, I'm a huge fan of your work in the WEC as a commentator, and how come we haven't seen you doing that?
I really don't know. I think I've done it in the past, and I've always been open to doing it again. So whenever the phone call comes that I can do it, I mean, I've let the powers that be at the UFC, as far as they know, Lorenzo and Dana know that I'm, hugely interested in doing it, and feel like I can contribute to the world of martial arts in that way. But the opportunity just hasn't come my way.
Last thing here, Frank, let's do touch upon the fight, of course, with Antonio Silva and your observations of his last performance against Andrei Arlovski. There were certainly a lot of factors going into that fight for Antonio Silva. Tell us about what you took away from that fight and what version of Antonio Silva you do expect on Sunday night, because there's been numerous versions of Antonio Silva we have seen over the years.
Well, I think that he's going to be in very good shape. I think there's a lot of pressure going into this fight. It's the second time fought in Brazil on the UFC banner. The first time he got caught by Andre. And, the fight was a very quick, short fight. Only 2 minutes. He got caught by a very hard, fast-hitting heavyweight in Andre. So it's kind of hard to pull from his performance to say he performed poorly or performed well. But I do know that was obviously a hard thing to swallow to lose in Brazil like that. Now he's fighting there again. And so I think that it's going to add a lot of incentive to his preparation. But I think I'm actually going to see a very great and in shape Antonio, Bigfoot. And as long as he's able to shake it before he walks in there. If he's still thinking the week of the fight, everybody's telling him that he's representing Brazil. Yeah. While he's walking in there, it's like, there's a lot of pressure on you already. Don't add more. Try not to take that on. Win or lose, I think he's a great fighter, and I think that a lot of guys having that home field advantage, especially fighting Brazil, I think it's a bad thing. I think it's hard to put a lot of pressure on.
It also really looks like this is exactly the right fight for a Frank Mir right now, whose body's in better shape than it's been, who's got that, like you said, that ability to move smoother and better than you have. Because Antonio Silva is exactly like you were talking about feeling a year ago. This guy's body's been through a ton. He hasn't always used the most advanced styles of training methods. He's faced hormonal issues and all kinds of things. So it feels like the opportunity to showcase a younger-bodied, healed-up fighter against.
No, absolutely. I feel like I have all the upsides going my way. I mean, the only disadvantage really is that I have to travel all the way down to Brazil to make this fight, and obviously fight there. But that's really not an advantage for him either, because he's training here in the States. We're taking the same trip. And so I feel that it's a wash. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of booing, going my way, because I'm not Brazilian and I'm facing Brazilian. But, I feel awesome right now, and I'm really just happy to go out there and perform. And really, it's not, I guess, not that I'm overlooking Bigfoot. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a tough fighter, and he's obviously the guy that I'm facing. But I'm really out there to show how well I can fight, how well I can perform and fight at a high level. That's what I'm really excited for performing on Sunday.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, live from Brazil, headlined by Antonio Bigfoot Silva, Frank Mir, 5-round heavyweight bout. Wish you all the best going into Sunday night, Frank. We will be watching.
Enjoy it in there, man.